There are people who go their entire lives thinking their brain is just broken. Life is so loud. Their brain is scattered. They feel inconsistency that is really hard for them to trust. And then one day, something within them shifts. And for the first time, their mind goes quiet. Not high, not numb, just quiet. And that moment doesn't just feel good. It raises a much bigger question. Wait, is this how it's supposed to feel? Hi, I am Victoria. I am a spiritual outlaw traveling the states in my van, and I am here to bring you real life stories and experiences in plant medicine and my personal take on the whys and the hows that go with these experiences. And today we will talk about what actually happens when people with ADHD start exploring microdosing and why for some it feels like the first time they've ever met their own mind without the chaos. I've seen this pattern more times than people realize. Someone grows up being told or quietly believing that they're just too much. They can show up in certain areas and they can excel. But behind the scenes, it's a constant battle. Starting things, it feels heavy for them. Finishing things feels even harder. Time slips through their hands in ways that they really can't explain. And there's this internal dialogue running underneath the show. It says, why can't I just do this? Other people make it look so easy. What is wrong with me? And that kind of inner pressure, it builds. And honestly, a lot of people don't realize how much shame is tied into that. So eventually, they start looking for something that might help. Not always out of curiosity. Sometimes it's just, I can't keep living like this. And somewhere along the way, they try microdosing plant medicine. And what's interesting is how often the first experience gets described in the same way. It's not intense. It's not overwhelming. Just silence. It's a sacred silence. Like the constant background noise in their mind begins to soften. And that moment for them can feel really emotional because it's just not relief. It's a whole new perspective, a whole new way of being. And I hear them say, oh, this is what it's like to not be fighting your own brain all day. And that realization, yeah, that can hit pretty deep, right? From a medicine perspective, that's a powerful moment because now the nervous system has a reference point. It's not theoretical anymore. Now, over time, some things start to shift. The self-talk within them softens. Their anxiety eases up just a bit. And there's a little more space between their thoughts. And sometimes their behaviors start changing too. People begin to lose interest in their numbing habits. It's not like forcing, but it's just this natural losing of the interest. And that's something we see a lot in the medicine work in this space. When the regulation comes up, the need to escape goes down. It's not always perfect. Some days feel amazing. I hear this day feels so clear and I feel so grounded and I really feel focused. Other days, it's like not really everything clicks. Tasks still, they tend to feel hard. Focus still comes and goes. And that inconsistency, that's where things can get a little bit complicated because now they've felt what it's like. They've felt what it's possible, but they can't always access it when they need it. And life still expects them to show up consistently, right? So eventually, some of them try stimulants. And for certain people, that quiet comes back. But this time, it's predictable, it's reliable, and there's a moment of comparison. Okay, this works, but it feels different because it is different. One feels like it's slowly teaching your system something, and the other feels like it's giving you the keys immediately, right? That doorway. And a lot of people don't choose one or the other. They move between the both and, trying to fix something that doesn't just make them feel better, but it actually helps them live their life in a way that really feels sustainable. And that exploration, that's way more common than people think. So let's talk about what's actually going on underneath all of this. Because ADHD isn't just about attention, it's about regulation. It's regulation of the attention, of emotions, of motivation, and even this time perception. A lot of people with ADHD, they're not lacking awareness, they're lacking access. They know what needs to be done, but there's this breakdown that's starting. It's sustaining or shifting between tasks. And that creates a very specific kind of internal tension within them. Now, when microdosing comes into the picture, it's not working like a stimulant. It's not forcing focus. What it can do for some of the people that I see is it creates these subtle, soft shifts within the nervous system. Things happen like softening of those negative thought loops that happen. It allows them to reduce the anxiety that's within them. They're able to increase their cognitive flexibility. They're able to create more space between impulse and action. And that space, that's where the change becomes so possible. It's not perfect, but it's possible. There's also an emotional layer here that's really important to mention. Many people with ADHD, they carry years of frustration, self-judgment, maybe even shame, maybe a rejection of sensitivity. So when microdosing reduces that internal pressure, even just slightly turning that key, it can feel like relief. And that relief leads to changes in behavior. There's less need to numb, less need to escape. It's because the system is no longer overwhelmed or as overwhelmed as it was. But, and this is key, microdosing doesn't always provide those consistent executive functions. It may help you feel better, but not always function better on that demand. And that's where stimulant medications come in differently. They directly support the dopamine regulation that's happening within the brain, this task initiation, and the sustained focus. So I'm not an advocate for the stimulants. Maybe it's a simple opportunity for a cup of coffee, or something that is more nature oriented, where that stimulus and that dopamine regulation happen naturally. And what I see so often in this contrast is microdosing supports awareness and emotional regulation, and those natural stimulants, they support execution and consistency. And for people with ADHD, the real work becomes learning how to navigate the both and those natural stimulants and the microdosing. Now, a few important things to hold here is one, there is no universal protocol. Every nervous system and every human responds so vastly different. Two, combining substances should never be taken lightly. So if you're using a medical stimulant, there are really considerations here. And I really want to offer in that if you're going to go with natural stimulants, like make sure if you are on that medical stimulant, like taper off slowly, follow your doctor's guidance. And three, insight alone isn't enough. So feeling better is so important to this person, right? But people also need to function in their actual lives. So the deeper question here becomes, what is actually needed here? Is it emotional regulation? Is it cognitive support? Is it nervous system stability? Is it a space for trauma release? Or is it a combination of all the above? Because once people understand that, they can stop searching for a single fix, and they begin to start building something that actually supports them in real life in a very sustainable way. Thank you so much for joining me inside of this episode of the Sacred Mycelium podcast. I am so excited that you are here. I am so grateful that you are here. If this episode resonated with you, like, comment, subscribe, share with people who may be in your circle that struggle with ADHD. My DMs are always open on Instagram at Victoria Lee Star, 2 E's, 2 R's, and I will see you inside of the next episode.